Good morning, everybody, and welcome back again to Lego Church. I think this is our sixth installment of Lego Church, and I'm really enjoying doing this. I hope you guys are all enjoying it as well. I just hope you guys are all doing well. I'm praying for you each and every week. I miss everybody. I know I say this every week, but I really miss everybody. I'd much rather see you guys in person. Now, last week we started a story in the book of Jonah, and we learned a lesson about how some of the things that we do that may be wrong can affect other people as well. When we commit a sin or we do something that we shouldn't be doing, sometimes that affects other people as well. Just like in Jonah, how all those people on the ship had to throw all of their cargo overboard, and they didn't do anything wrong, but they had to pay the consequences for what Jonah did. Now this week, we're going to learn another great lesson. Only this time, it's a little bit different. This time, we're going to learn about a lesson of forgiveness. We're also going to learn a couple other really neat things along the way. I'm going to have my son Sam. We're going to sit down with him for a minute or two, and we're going to kind of learn something really cool about the book of Jonah. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Tell you what, let's go and do a little bit of review from last week to catch you up on our story. All right, so here we have Jonah. He is walking down the dock. Remember from last week, he decided that he was not going to listen to God and go to Nineveh and try to turn those people from their wicked ways. So he was going to go to Tarshish, which was probably about the furthest place he could get away from Nineveh. So he went down to the dock to find the captain of the boat, which he found. Oh, hold on a second. Those guys shouldn't be there. There we go. That's the captain of the boat. Sorry about that. So we got to the captain of the boat. And they got on the boat and started heading towards Tarshish. And you may also recall from last week how Jonah, during the big storm, was thrown overboard. Now Jonah probably didn't want to be thrown overboard, and the guys didn't want to throw him overboard, but that's what he told them to do. So away Jonah went. And that's where our story ended last week. So let's pick up our story this week, and we'll find out what happened to Jonah. All right, so as our story progresses, we find Jonah here in the water. He has just been thrown off of the ship, and you know what happened? The waters became calm. And you know what happened? Everybody on the ship that was praying to their own God realized how Jonah's God was the one true God. And you know what they did? They started praising God and shouting out oaths to him. Let's go listen to what it says in the Bible about that. All right, so here we are in the book of Jonah. We're in chapter 1, verse 14. Listen to what the men on the ship say. Then they cried to the Lord, "O Lord, please do not let us die for taking this man's life." Now they're no longer talking to their own gods. They're talking to Jonah's God, the one true God. "Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man. For you, O Lord, have done as you pleased." Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. Isn't that amazing? God took this horrible thing for these people. Yeah, they had to throw all their cargo overboard and everything, but they gained something amazing: belief in the one true God. So that's a great example about how God can take something that's bad and turn it into something good. Every person on that ship knew the one true God that day. Let's go back to our story and find out what happens to Jonah. All right, so here's where our story picks up from last week. Jonah is now in the water. He is bobbing around in the waves of this storm, and the waters have calmed. And you know what happens next? Jonah's probably freaking out. I know that I certainly would be. Being thrown overboard of a ship into the water. I'm a pretty good swimmer, but I don't know how I would do here. I'd probably be freaking out. But a big fish came up to eat Jonah. Hold on a second. That just doesn't seem right. Let's go back to the Bible and find out exactly what it says. All right, so whenever you're not sure about something in a story in the Bible or something that Jesus said or God said, it's always good to go back to the Bible to find out exactly what was said. So somehow, that didn't seem right to me. So let's find out what it says in the Word of God. In Jonah chapter 1, verse 17, it says, "But the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah." That doesn't look much like a great fish to me. So let's go back and do that part again. All right, so back to our story. We find Jonah, like we said before, crashing around in the waves. And we just read that the Bible said that God provided a great fish. And there is our great fish. Our great fish came swimming up to Jonah, opened up his mouth, and in went Jonah. Let's shove him back in there a little further. There he is. Now, it says in the Bible that Jonah was in the fish for 3 days. I don't know about you, but I bet it was pretty smelly in there, and also pretty dark. Let's go find out what the Bible says that happened to Jonah while he was inside this great fish. Hey everybody, this is my buddy Sam, and Sam and I are going to talk a little bit about Jonah. Now, we all know our buddy Jonah here. Now, what happened to Jonah when the ship started almost sinking and the big storm came up? What did he ask the people to do?
To throw him overboard.
That's right. He asked everybody on the ship to throw him overboard because he knew that God was causing the storm because of Jonah. So, what happened to Jonah once he got thrown overboard? Do you think Jonah wanted to be thrown overboard? No, he probably didn't. He was probably pretty scared because he knew that he was probably going to drown, right? Mm-hmm. So what happened when Jonah got thrown overboard?
Well, he didn't get drowned, but he got eaten by a big fish.
He did. He got eaten by a big fish.
Die.
Now, how long was he in the big fish? No, he didn't die.
3 days.
3 days. Now, that sounds kind of like another story in the Bible that we learned a couple weeks ago. Do you remember what that story was?
Jesus on the cross.
Jesus on the cross. That is right. Jesus did the same thing that Jonah did. So the story of Jonah is a story about Jesus only several hundred years before. So Jonah sacrificed himself, asked those guys to throw him overboard to save them, because he knew that the storm would stop once he got thrown overboard. Jesus did the same thing for you and I. He sacrificed himself. He probably didn't want to, just like Jonah didn't want to, but he sacrificed himself for us. And Jonah was in the fish for 3 days. How long was Jesus in the tomb?
3 days.
3 days. How amazing is that story?
Like he was on the cross for 3 days.
No, he wasn't on the cross for 3 days. He was only on the cross for a short period of time until he died. But then he was in the tomb for 3 days. Pretty cool, huh? So here we are. A sacrifice in the fish for 3 days. A sacrifice in the tomb for 3 days. Pretty cool, huh? Mm-hmm. Very cool. All right, Sam has something to tell you real quick.
So, I'm going to show you 2 of my buddies. I made them myself.
Pretty awesome.
Bye.
Bye. So here we are back in the book of Jonah, chapter 1, verse 17. The Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah, which we just read. And it says that Jonah was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Now, God was punishing Jonah for not listening to what he had told him to do. Remember, he had asked Jonah to go to Nineveh to preach to those people to keep them from being wicked and to turn to God. But Jonah wasn't happy with that. And so this is how God is punishing Jonah. Have you ever been punished for something and then realized that maybe what you did was wrong? I certainly know that I have.
Get inside that corner. You're a big trouble, mister. Do not throw Legos at my mom. You hear me? Now stay inside that He's a bad boy.
So just like I got sent to my room and my nose stuck in the corner, Jonah got swallowed by a fish. Jonah had some time to think about what he did in that belly. As it said in verse 17 of Jonah chapter 1, it says, "And Jonah was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights." Now I didn't have to stick my nose in the corner for 3 days and 3 nights or stay in my room for 3 days and 3 nights, but I did have some time to think about what I did. And look what happened to Jonah when he had some time to think about what he did. It says in Jonah chapter 2, "From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. He said, 'In my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me from the depths of the grave. I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the deep, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled about me, all your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me, the deep surrounded me, seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. But you brought me my life up from the pit, O Lord my God. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols forfeit the grace that could be theirs, but I with the song of thanksgiving will sacrifice to you what I have vowed I will make good. Salvation comes from the Lord." So Jonah had quite the turnaround there in the fish, which I'm sure was super dark and scary, but he had a lot of time to think about what he was doing and how God had asked him to do something and he turned away from it. So Jonah had a turnaround, kind of like I did. Can I take my nose out of the corner now? I'm sorry for throwing Legos at Mom.
Yes, you may. Only if you do what I asked.
Okay. Hey, can I come out now? I promise I won't throw any more Legos.
Yes, you can come out now. Only if you do what I ask.
Okay, I promise. So as I had time to think there in the corner and also in my room for throwing Legos, which I know I shouldn't be doing, I understood that I needed to apologize. And that's essentially what Jonah did when he was in the belly of the whale. He was in there 3 days and 3 nights, which was probably pretty scary and dark. And he got to think about what he did, and then he sent up a prayer and a praise to God and realized that his salvation comes from God. So essentially he was saying he was sorry. And so here we see at the end of this chapter here, end of chapter 2, verse 10, it says, "And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land." Let's go back and check out our big fish again. All right, so here we are with the big fish again. Jonah has been in the belly for 3 days, and he has prayed to God and realized that God is his salvation. And they come up to dry land, and just like it says in the Bible, Jonah is vomited out of the fish. Oh, look at that. Had that small fish in there too. And there is Jonah, out on dry land. All right, so that's where we're going to end our story today, with Jonah being vomited up by the fish on the dry land. I know that sounds kind of gross, but that's exactly what it says in the Bible. Now, we learned some great things today. First great thing that we learned was how this story is a reflection of Jesus. We learned about how Jonah got thrown overboard and he got swallowed up by the fish. He sacrificed himself to save the people in the boat. And because of that sacrifice, all the people on the boat believed in the one true God. The other part of the reflection to Jesus was that Jonah got swallowed by a fish for 3 days, just like Jesus was crucified and in the tomb for 3 days. It's an amazing story and an amazing reflection of Jesus. The other great thing that we learned today was that when we do something wrong, we sin against God, we can always ask for forgiveness. Don't ever forget that. God can always forgive you for your sin, whatever you do that is wrong. Just like I said that I was sorry for throwing Legos, you can say you're sorry to God, and he will forgive you, and he will love you. So I hope you join me next week. We're going to continue our story on to Jonah as he trudges on to Nineveh. We're going to find out what happens there. See you next week. Love you guys, and I'll be praying for you.
We sure hope you guys enjoyed Lego Church this morning. We want to let you know that you can also get a Lego Church t-shirt. Jennifer Christensen has her own business called New Creations by Jen, and she will custom make you your very own t-shirt. You just got to pre-order it. You can pick your colors. You can pick your own little Lego guy. They won't look exactly like ours, but they will be special, made just for you. And so we will have a link to her business on our Facebook page. So we love you guys, and we hope you have a really great week. And we miss you, and we're praying for you.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.